Hello, how's everybody doing today? This is Rich Harshaw with Monopolize Your Marketplace, and we are here for our Insiders Open Forum. I want to thank those of you who are participating as listeners, as well as those of you who are here to participate as participants, for lack of a better way to say it. We've got two submissions today. One comes from the Paradise of Cayman Islands, and the other comes from Premier Siding, Roofing, and Home Improvement of where, I'm not sure where that is. Maybe that's, I don't know, we'll find out when we get to that one. We're going to go ahead and start, though, with Al from Robert Wood Interiors. Let me see if I can find you on my list here. Let's see. There's Al. Al, now I see you are on a microphone. Let me see if this will work or not. Al, go ahead.
You did.
Al?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I see you there. I also see Jeannie on here. Should I unmute her?
She's listening. Yeah, she's listening as well. She may have called in as well.
She is on here. Would you like me to unmute her?
Yeah, don't feel free.
Okay,
well,
Jeannie,
actually,
are you there?
I guess she's not.
Well, she is, but a lot of times when people are dialed in through the internet, if their settings aren't just right, I don't hear them.
Yeah.
She is unmuted, so if she ends up popping on, then we'll hear her. But for now, I guess we'll hear from you.
She's better left seen and not heard.
Well, I will make no comment on that. Why don't you tell us what you want to talk about today?
Robert has some contract with a radio program down here in the mornings. I know for a fact he's gone on once, but I think he has like 2 more times that he can go on for 30-minute segments. And I had Judy submit the Tuesday morning ad clinic. I wanted your submission for that, but that got canceled. And I just want to talk about what he should really promote when we're dealing with all-weather coatings, because that's what he wants to try and nail down in the marketplace here, because nobody actually does it. And
okay.
The biggest thing for me and for us as an organization is it's extremely high. It's not cheap whatsoever, and it's hard to get around the benefits of ownership versus the cost of the product. And I just kind of wanted a little bit of information from you. And you can ask me any questions about it, because I have a list here of things that I wanted to talk about, but I just needed your input, to be honest.
Well, you know what, I'm a little bit familiar with that product, but I'm not super familiar with that product. Here's where I'd want to start with this. I'd want to start with you giving me a brief understanding. This is essentially a paint, right?
Well, the cut and dry of it is, yes, it is a paint. However, the factors, there are so many more factors that go into it to make it more than a paint.
Right.
It's basically insulation for your house, really.
And tell me how that works. Not necessarily technically how the mechanics of it work, but what kind of results can we expect? Just give me the quick spiel on it.
It's a thermal coating. The top layer that we put on reflects 87% of the sun's rays, and the second layer that's right underneath that absorbs the remaining percentage of the sun's rays and doesn't allow that heat transfer to go into your house, therefore insulating your house from the outside.
Okay, so what does that mean in real terms for me as a homeowner? If I get this product on my house, what can I expect?
You can expect lower energy bills, basically.
Okay, how much lower?
That I couldn't tell, to be honest with you. Yeah, and
give me your best guess, just so we can have it for discussion purposes.
Let's put a roundabout figure of $75 a month on your energy costs.
And about how much would a normal energy bill be?
That varies, but I guess an average energy bill, just electricity alone, would be in the $400 to $500 range here.
Okay. So we're talking about maybe 15 or 20%, somewhere in that vicinity?
That sounds about fair.
Okay. Is there any issues with comfort of the home or long-lasting of the coating or anything like that?
No, there isn't. The longest installation or application has been 30+ years, and it still looks new. It was in a lighthouse in Concord.
Well, so I mean, this is what I'm asking you. Does this last longer than your typical paint job?
Oh yeah. It's got if you put all 4 applications on it, it's a 30-year warranty.
And is that standard to put 4 applications on?
No, that's the most expensive application. The warranties run anywhere. If you do a single application, like a single coat, the warranty on that is 5 years, whereas a paint job down here usually lasts about 2 to 3 years before the sun just fades it.
Okay, what's the warranty on a double coat?
10 years.
And what would you expect for a regular paint job on a double coat? Same thing, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And what about a triple coat? What's the warranty?
That is 15 years.
Okay, and then on up to 20 for a quadruple, right? No, 30 years for a quadruple.
Correct. 30 years. Yeah.
Okay, and the warranty.
And it's not. It's sorry to interrupt. It's not 4 coats. It's just 4 layers of applications. There's different products that we install on the house. It runs from a layer of one product to a layer of a different product to a layer of another product to the top coat of paint, basically.
Okay. So apparently that 4th layer is the one that really puts it over the top, no?
Yeah, and that ends up being, unfortunately for the customer, with labor and materials, about $7 to $7.50 a square foot. That's the key issue that we can't get over.
Okay, give me the pricing on the other single, double, triple layer. 7.5, 4. What about for 1, 2, and 3?
It goes down to about $5 a square foot.
On a single?
Yeah.
What about a double?
It's about $5.60, $5.65.
Okay, and triple?
That jumps up to about $6.50.
Okay, now what about a regular paint job? What would that cost per square foot?
I think that runs about anywhere between $2.50 and $3.
Okay. Well, you know what I would do first and foremost? The very first thing that I would do as a principal in this marketing campaign is I would talk about how expensive it is right up front. And I would make that one of the selling points of the product.
Okay.
Just get it out of the way. Don't,
exactly.
Hey, this stuff is expensive. You can get your house painted for $2.50 to $3. Ours is going to cost 2 to 3 times as much, but here's the benefit. And I would just wear it loud and proud. Let all the people that scares the crap out of, that have no stomach for it, that, you know, all those things that people are going to say, well, you know, it's just a paint job. Who, you know, why would I pay that much for a paint job? Screw those guys. You're not going to sell those guys.
Yeah.
Now, think about this. There's 2 ways to approach this. The more common approach probably is to try to kind of talk to people about paint and then get in front of them so you can give them this sales pitch so that when they find out that it costs all this extra money, they go, well, you know, maybe that is worth it after all. True enough?
I'd venture to say so.
Okay, so, yeah, maybe it's a little more expensive. Maybe, you know, and you kind of have this dancing around the issue of money so that you can hurry up and make the sales pitch for it so that you can now come in with the money and hopefully they don't flinch too much and they say, well, you know, now that you give me all that information, maybe it would be worth more money. It's sort of a backdoor approach. And what I'm suggesting is a front door approach where we go in and go, look, this is a lot more money. Now, here's the interesting thing about that. I think that when you go out to the marketplace and you go, hey, I got this crap and it's really expensive. Of course, you wouldn't call it crap, but you know what I'm saying. I think people's ears are going to perk up and go, well, what is it? What is this expensive thing? I mean, imagine this. What if somebody came on the radio and said, hey, our haircuts are $100 at our haircut place. It's expensive. I'm telling you, it's going to be hard for you to find a more expensive place to get your hair cut than down at our barber shop. Now, first of all, it's so unusual that you automatically are listening, and then the biggest question in your mind is what?
Why is it so expensive?
Oh, well, what's going to happen? Am I going to get, liquored up there? Are they going to give me a massage while I'm there? Who knows what might happen for $100, right?
Yeah.
But the principle is that when you talk like that and you put this bold assertion out there, it automatically makes people say, well, what is it then?
Yeah.
If it's so expensive, it must be great. And I got to believe that that's the best way to sell this thing, because the other way, the backdoor way, it's almost apologetic no matter how it comes out at the end.
And would you consider that almost like a waste of time?
I don't know if it's a waste of time. I mean, it's probably possible to sell it, but I mean, think about it. Let me give you just a very, very short role play of selling it the typical backdoor way. Okay, we're going to come out and paint, and there's different things you need to know about paint. We've got this paint here, and it's it has the ability to give you lower energy bills, and it lasts a lot longer, and blah blah blah. All these great things about it. Now it is more expensive though. Oh, well, how much is it? Well, I'm reluctant to say it because I know my feeling and my tone and my expectation that I'm setting with my demeanor is that, wow, it's really expensive. And when you talk like that, it barely sounds worth it.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is come in and go, the most expensive paint job you could ever get, the highest dollar you'll ever spend for a paint job, 3 times more money than a normal paint job.
Uh-huh.
And then people are like, what the crap? Huh? What? 3 times more? What kind of fool would pay 3 times more? Well, let me tell you what kind of fool. First of all, it's guaranteed for 30 years. Now, look, and now you're talking about Robert being on the radio, and on the radio for 30 minutes, he's got some time to talk about it, right?
Exactly.
Hey, man, if you're planning on moving in the next 3 or 4 years, don't do this. That would be really stupid.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be in your house for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or, who knows? I've been in my house for 30 years, Robert might say. I don't know if that's true or not, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you will repaint it. It's for crying out freaking loud. This is Cayman Islands. It's salt water on all sides. The paint job is going to get ruined. It's going to suck. So, number one, if you want to paint your house every 2 or 3 years, and you want to pay, basically it's usually about $2.50 a foot. Most people don't quantify paint jobs in $2.50, right? They don't know what that means. They don't know how many square feet it's going to take. So for the average house, how many feet is the typical paint job for a typical house?
I'd say about anywhere between about 2,000 for a single story.
$2,000 or 2,000 feet?
2,000 feet.
2,000 feet. Okay?
Yeah.
And so I would say, if I was Robert, so for a typical paint job, you're going to pay, hey, some houses are smaller, obviously. Some houses are much bigger, obviously. But a typical house, it's about 2,000 square feet. If you pay $2.50 to $3 per square foot, you're looking at about $5,000 to $6,000. Okay? That's how much it's going to cost to paint your house. Here's the problem with that. Now, you go do that if you want. It's a lot of money, but here's the part that's going to really make you sick. And the part that you're already upset about is, guess what? It's, let's see, August, so September 2013, so it's 9 of 13. Let's go 1 year, 14, 2 years, 15. So by the time you hit January 2016, guess what?
You got to do it again.
You're going to be paying that frickin' thing again. And you're going to come whip out of your pocket another $5,000 to $6,000. Now, guess what? It's going to be a massive pain in the butt. It's going to suck. You're going to hate it, and it's just going to be a massive, massive problem. Now, if you do this with us, we got a couple of different plans. We've got different layers, okay? We can put a minimum of 1 layer and on up to 4 layers. Here's what those layers are. We've got layer 1, which is X, layer 2, which is this, layer 3, which is this, and then the 4th layer. And depending on what you do, it's going to be more expensive, but it's going to give you a bigger warranty, anywhere from 5 years to 30 years.
Correct.
Now, let me tell you something. The amount of money it's going to cost you to get a 30-year warranty versus a 5-year warranty is about 50% more. But you get 6 times the warranty, 30 years. if you think you're going to be in your house for 15 to 30 years and you don't do this, it's just dumb. Now, cash flow, I understand, but you know what? We've got ways to help people afford that. Do you have financing for this?
No, we don't.
Man, I would see if you could get some. I don't know if you can or not. Help people afford it.
You don't know our bottom line right now.
Well, I'm just saying, raise your price by 6%. Go get a GE finance company to underwrite it and pay them 6%. Who cares?
We're in Cayman. I don't think it works like that.
That's probably true. Hey, go rob a bank. There's lots of them there. Anyway, I don't know if there's any way to finance or not. If there's not, then there's not. If there is, I would look into it because then you start opening up lots of additional customers.
True.
But I would. That's what I would probably do, and let the people that think that sounds good. Then, see, you know what I just did? Did you hear what I just did? Oh, by the way. Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way. This also is going to lower your energy bills. Now, let me tell you about that. Now, does it make a difference if you do single, double, or triple layer in terms of how energy efficient it is?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so this $75 would be for the single, double, triple, quadruple. What do you think?
Oh, for the quad.
For the quad, okay. So then you come in and say, oh, by the way, this is also going to lower your energy bill. Now, the typical energy savings that we see, hey, guys, listen, it varies, obviously. Anytime you're talking about houses and, you know, all this stuff is going to vary. But what we typically see is that when people go with our 30-year warranty product, it's going to cut your energy bill anywhere from $50 to $100 a month. Let's call it $75. Okay?
Sure.
Now, here's what that means. During the next 5 years, if you were to save $75 a year, per month, that's going to give you a total savings on your energy bill. Whoops, 75 times 5 times 12 is about $4,500.
Mm-hmm.
On top of how long it's going to last. So not only is it going to last twice as long, it's going to save you that kind of money.
Let's just take that for a fact, and the return on investment. I think the last job we did was, I think it cost our customer. It was a huge 2-story house, and I think that ran him about $30,000 with everything, labor and equipment and paint and everything like that. I think that was about $30,000, but he saw a significant reduction in his bill.
Okay. Well, you know, here's the first thing I would do. I would position this as, it really only makes sense for people that plan on being in their house a bare minimum of 5 years, 10 years more likely. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's probably true anyway, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't do it if I were moving.
So let's just put it out there. There's no sense in pretending about it. Oh, yeah, geez, it's still a good idea if you're going to be in here 2 years later. No, it's not. Who cares? I don't care what happens to the next owner of this house. Okay, so I would position it like that as one of the major talking points. Hey, look, if you're going to be in your house more than 5 years, more than 10 years for sure, then this is 5 years, you should do it. 10 years, it's an absolute no-brainer, because then what you can do is you can say, look, 10 years is 120 months times $75 a month is about $9,000 over those 10 years. Now, hey, you know what? We've seen a lot higher than that, but I'm not going to sit here on the radio and say, hey, it's going to be this exorbitant amount of savings. You know, let's just be conservative. What we see typically is $50 to $100. If you got a bigger house, obviously your bill is bigger, but your savings are bigger. But on a typical house, you know, you could expect about $75 to $100 off per month. At $75 over the 10 years, it's $9,000. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely $9,000, and the paint job doesn't need to be redone.
Can I interject here and ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Does the fact that the warranty is transferable come into play whatsoever?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the warranty is transferable from owner to owner,
yeah,
regardless.
So if you end up moving, then great. You can have, you know, that goes with you. But you know what we can do is we can calculate this out all the way. Here's what I mean. This is the kind of stuff that I like to do. To say, okay, if you get a typical paint job, you have to get a new paint job every 2.5 years. Right? So after 10 years, you're going to pay for 4 paint jobs at an average price of $5,500 for a typical house. So that's $22,000 over 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, if you take it out to 20 years, that's 8 paint jobs, which is $44,000. Now, here's what we know. We know that realistically, probably people aren't going to paint their house every 2.5 years, even if they need to. They're just going to deal with having a crappy-looking house for, an extra year or two. We know that, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay. We can still make this case. It's $44,000 to paint your house 8 times over the next 20 years. If you do this with us and you go on our 30-year program, it's going to cost you more. It's probably going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of about $15,000 to $16,000. But over that first 10 years, you're going to save $9,000 on your energy bill. And over 20 years, you're going to save $18,000 on your energy bill. It's actually not going to cost you anything over 20 years. Or you can pay $44,000 to paint your stupid house every 2.5 years. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer that at the end of the 20 years you actually made $3,000 or you paid $44,000? People, listen, I know money's tight. I know that, this is all hard to say. Here's what I want you to know. If you're going to be in your house for 10 to 20 years and you don't do this, it's pretty much the dumbest thing you could ever do. Yes, it's more expensive up front, but over the long haul, it's stupidly less expensive. In fact, it's about 15 to 20 times less expensive over 20 years.
Yeah.
That's how I would talk about it. And I would just own it right up front.
Now the question is, will Robert do that?
I don't know. You asked me what he should do, not what he will do.
I know. Busting my chops.
What else would you do? I don't know what else you would possibly say.
No, that's the greatest way, because I think that spending your time explaining the benefits of ownership of this and then leading to the price point is, like I said earlier, a waste of time. But if you put the price point out there first, then it eliminates first and foremost the customers that can't afford it. And it might eliminate the customers that you do not want, and it just opens itself up to a clientele that can afford it and see the realistic side of things.
I don't see any problem with that at all. That's how I would do it, because here's the problem with doing it another way. It is what it is. It's not. That's just what it is.
Yeah, it's not a paint job. It's more than that.
So, I would probably go on there and I would say stuff like this. Okay, first of all, we're going to be talking about painting your house, and there's ways to do it that last for 30 years, and there's ways to do it that last for 2.5 or 3 years. There's also ways that reduce your energy bill, and there's other ways to do it that don't reduce your energy bills. Okay, so let's just get that right up front. To do it the 30-year way, in the way that reduces your energy bills, it costs more money up front. So unless you're going to be in your house for a bare minimum of 5 years and more like 10 to 20 years, you wouldn't want to invest in it. So if you're not going to be in your house for a bare minimum of 5 and more likely 10 to 20 years, don't even listen to me, because it doesn't even make sense to do this. Now, if you are going to be in your house for 8, 10 years, 12 years or more, then I'm going to show you that over the course of 20 years that doing it one way actually makes you money. It actually puts $3,000 in your pocket. And painting your house every 2 or 3 years is going to cost you about 40 grand. So you can either make $3,000 or spend $40,000. Is there like a host?
Is it what?
Is there a host on the radio program?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this, John. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer over the next 20 years to pay $40,000 or to make $3,000? Which one do you want?
I'd like to make money.
Yeah, obviously, it's a no-brainer. Okay, I mean, can you make that kind of differential return in your investment account? No, you can't. Okay, so with that being said, let me tell you about how this works. We've got this paint. It's actually not a paint. It's called a coating, but it's for practical purposes a paint, and it's got these properties of this and this and this. It lasts, for 30 years. It has these kinds of thermal properties. It looks fantastic. For our climate here with this kind of salt water on all sides of us, it's a must. Now, here's what most people do. They go through this cycle of painting over and over and over and over again. And the reason they do it is because it's a pain in the butt to paint, and it's expensive to paint. I mean, a typical house is 2,000 square feet. It's going to cost you $2.50 to $3 per square foot. That's $5,000 to $6,000 to paint your house. Anybody who's out there that's ever painted their house knows I'm telling the absolute truth. That's about $5,000, $6,000 to paint your house, and people hate it. And what you see is people end up not painting their house when they should because it's so stinking expensive. It's such a pain in the butt. They don't want to pull the trigger, so they end up either paying a ton of money or having a really crappy looking house.
Mm-hmm.
But look, here's what we've got. This coating that we have changes this whole equation. So first of all, let's talk about saving money on your energy bill. This is going to save the typical guy with that 2,000 square foot of paint house. Is going to save him probably somewhere around $75 a month. It could be as little as 50. It could be 100 or more. We've seen some with more, but let's say $75. Over the next 10 years, if you save $75 a month, so let's be real clear. If your energy bill goes from $450 to $375, if your bill goes from $325 to $250, that's going to be about $9,000 every 10 years. $9,000. Now, here's how much money paint saves you on your energy bill. Nothing. 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 Okay?
Yeah.
Now, this paint that we're talking about, coating, costs more money. It's going to cost anywhere from about 2 to 3 times as much. Okay? Now, that's not a good fit for everybody. Some people look at it and say, I just can't afford it. Well, if you can't afford it, that's fine. You know, some people can't afford a Mercedes-Benz. They don't buy a Mercedes. They buy a Hyundai or a Yugo. It's fine. We don't think any less of you, but it's just a fact. Some people live in a small house. It's more modest. That's what they can afford. Some people live in a bigger house. It's more ostentatious. You know, whatever you can afford is fine. But I'm telling you this, from just not just from an affordability standpoint, but from an actual investment standpoint, this is a better deal. So it's going to cost you more up front, 2 to 3 times more. It's going to cost you anywhere from $5 to $7 or so dollars per square foot. But here's what's going to happen. We've got different levels, 5, 10, 15, and our best product is a 30-year warranty. 30 flipping years. You're not going to paint your house for 30 years, and you're going to save $75 a month on your energy for 30 years. Okay? So let's look at the numbers. If you paint your house every 2.5 years over 20 years, that's 8 paint jobs. That's $5,500. That's $44,000. That's crazy. And no savings on the energy. Plus, your house looks like crap half the time. Now, with this, it's going to cost a little bit more up front, but here's what's going to happen. It's going to look great for 30 years. It's going to be warranted for 30 years, and you're going to save $75. So 10 years, that's $9,000 you're going to save. 20 years, that's $18,000. In 30 years, you're going to save $27,000. You know, most people can't think of 30 years. They can't even think of 20 years. Let's just look at 10 years. 10 years, you're going to save $9,000 on this. That's going to replace about half to 2/3 of the cost of the product, which is going to bring it down to less than a regular paint job anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to have this discussion.
Yeah, we need you down here selling it.
No, you just need to go back and listen to this again and just make notes, and boom, you're in good shape.
Yeah. All right, Rich, thank you so much for your insight. That was perfect.
Got it. Hey, thanks for being on. Appreciate you.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. Now let's hop over to, let's see, Vivian from Premier Siding. Let me see if I can find you on here. There you are. All right, Vivian, I have unmuted you. Can you say something? Okay. Vivian, I see that you are on a microphone through your computer. That doesn't always work super well. Let me try one quick setting here. This might make you lose me, but let me try it. Okay, I am back. But by the way, Rich, never push that button again. It hangs up on you. That was not very smart. I was trying a desperate measure, but it didn't work. Vivian, here's what I'm going to recommend that you do. I'm going to recommend that you dial in on the phone. If you look on your console, it should show a phone number. If you'll dial in and use the access code, that should make it so that I can hear you. Otherwise, I can't really hear you. Now, while you are doing that, I do have your question here, and I will address it without talking to you, and I will keep an eye on this to see if I can get a telephone. Okay, I see that you have hung up from that. That's good. That means that you can't hear me, but maybe you're dialing in. Here's her question. It says, is it better to market all of our services together or individually? The percentage of services currently are roofing, 75%, siding, 10%, gutters, 5%, and windows, 10%. Now, this is a pretty common question because we've got a lot of clients that sell multiple products and services. So this comes up a lot. My general advice is that I prefer strongly to have one ad for one product emphasis. However, it's okay to mention all of the other products. In fact, I think it's really smart to mention all of your products, but I really prefer to do it product by product. Now, let me give you some exceptions, and let me give you some conditions on that. And while we're doing this, I'm going to see if I can get Vivian dialed back in here. Okay, not yet. Not yet. So first thing we want to do is look at your company's identity. And identities are typically built in one of two major ways. They're either built around the products that you sell, or they're built around what I call the bedside manner stuff of your company. In other words, things that are not product-based, but are more based on your company and what you do and how you service your customers. Now, typically, you're going to base your identity off of bedside manner things if you sell a multitude of products, because you can't really focus in on the original discussion or on the initial discussion on a single product, because that's not necessarily what a good percentage of your customers are looking for. They're looking for whatever product they're looking for, if that made any sense. Now, if a company tends to sell just one major product, then a lot of times we'll build it around that product. We've done this for some of our customers. Thermo King Windows comes to mind. Some of the people that do James Hardie siding, certain basement companies, we will focus heavily on just the product. So that kind of self-answers the question a little bit. If you are focused in heavily on one product, then that's probably what you want to be known for. Now, there's exceptions to that. Here's the exception. If you do 75% roofing, but also a little bit of siding, gutters, and windows, my first question to you would be, well, what do you want that number to look like, you know, in 5 years, or in 3 years, or in 2 years even? Do you want to grow the siding part of your business, or the gutter part, or the window part? Or would you prefer that the roofing still be 75%? So for a company, let me just be very specific on these rules of thumb. They're not rules, they're rules of thumb. For a company that would like to, that does currently focus on one major product and would like to continue, then this is a no-brainer. I would just go after the product on the advertising, radio, mailers, newspaper, email, whatever kind of marketing you do, and you can certainly mention that you do those other things. If you currently focus on one thing but you would like to grow into those other things, I think it's smart to go and start to advertise those things. Hey, roofing, siding, you know, whatever it is, windows. Because when you talk about those things, those are the things that people are going to pay attention to. Let me be very specific. If you walk into Costco and you were there to buy a television, Costco has a pretty robust television selection. The fact that they also sell rice makers and mattresses and clothing and DVDs and food and frozen foods really isn't that important to you. So we can't get ourselves under the impression that just because we sell all these things that people are interested in all these things. In fact, the vast majority of people that buy roofing don't need windows. Some do, certainly some will. but most don't. And even if they do, they may not be aware of it. You know, just because a guy is in buying a TV doesn't mean he absolutely does not need a new mattress, but that's not what he's thinking about at the moment. So, you know, we get into this scenario. Again, let me check for Vivian to have dialed back in. Still not seeing her. We get this scenario where we talk about all these things, but then by doing that, we become nothing to the people that, you know, have a specific need. So I tend to like to be specific. So talk about siding, talk about gutters, talk about windows. Now, I'm going to flip sides here, and this probably isn't particularly helpful for everybody listening because you're thinking, well, geez, you're giving me a strong argument for both sides of the case. And yes, I am, and I'm going to let you decide. I'm going to give you a couple final points to help you make some decisions. If you've got a strong identity that's based on some bedside manner kinds of things, low sales pressure, you know, easy to work with, whatever those things are, warranties, then I would come in and I would talk about those things in the advertisement and then say, you know, we've got this for roofing and siding and gutters and windows. In fact, I think the main element that I want to take out of this and that I want to present on this webinar, on this call, is the importance of having a central focus, a central theme for all of the ads that you do. Okay, that's what I prefer. And if that happens to be about a bedside manner kind of an issue, hey, we've got the best warranties, or we've got low sales pressure, or whatever the case is, then that's going to apply to all of your products. If you want to hit certain types of products, then I would hit them hard. Is it wrong to say, look, we do all these things? It's not wrong, but it could be potentially less effective. Ultimately, what you want to do is you want to create an advertising strategy that is a farming type of a strategy where you've got seeds that you're planting, that you're developing and growing for future, and as you do this, what you have is an advertisement that focuses on one element of your identity, but it's not the results of this campaign are not dependent on somebody hearing your one ad and picking up the phone and calling you at that moment. It's contingent on the cumulative effect of hearing multiple ads, seeing multiple ads over time that's affecting their decision-making process. So ultimately, you know, let's make sure that these ads tend to focus on one hot button, generally speaking. Okay, I kind of talk all around and over and above and around that, but that's kind of how I feel about it. At the end of commercials, you can certainly tag them with, you know, for all of your roofing, siding, gutter, and window needs, so that people hear that, they understand that, they know that. You can put that at the bottom of your ads. You could certainly run some ads that feature all of those things, but on average, through the campaign, I would want to make sure that I've got more of a balanced one hot button per advertisement type of an approach. Okay, and unfortunately, I did not see Vivian jump back on here, so I'm not going to be able to talk to her. But that's kind of my take on that, and my opinion on that. Hopefully, Vivian, you were able to hear that. If not, we've got it recorded so you can listen to it later. So that's it. We can talk about that later if we need to or want to on a future call or a TMAC or anything else. Be happy to readdress it. But for now, that's what we've got. So I'm going to leave that with you. And we're going to end the webinar. Thanks for participating. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.
The organizer has